Good Friday morning, everybody. Meteorologist Greg Majewski back with you here in the North Georgia Majestic Weather Studios with the Weather Report, the North Georgia edition, exclusively for you Facebook subscribers and YouTube members here on your March the 6th, 2026. It also happens to be Free for All Friday, so everybody gets a sampler here. So if you'd like to consider becoming a subscriber on Facebook or a member on YouTube, please do so and help us with our effort to build this 24-hour professional weather channel in the works. All right, let's go ahead and take a live look out there. We got Sky Valley, Hillen, Dahlonega, Blairsville, everybody out and about this morning. It's going to be a warm one today, folks. We're going to have a mix of clouds once again out there from time to time. Partly sunny, mostly cloudy, kind of depending on where you're at. Kind of a mix of clouds across the area today, but temperatures are going to be well above where they're supposed to be. We will set some record highs for today, and then we're going to be dealing about the weekend. We're going to talk about the severe weather risk here for tomorrow. We got a marginal risk there to talk about. And then we'll talk about what's expected for next week as far as the long range is concerned. Still tracking another front coming in on Thursday that should knock us back down to more seasonable levels. And then a colder shot update going into, say, St. Patrick's Day. That's still in the works, but some minor changes there as well. All right, let's go ahead and get into the surface map here. Nothing really across the southeast really stand out other than the fact that it's very warm and balmy out there. We've got temperatures running well above where they're supposed to be. In fact, a lot of these morning lows were actually closer to what our daytime highs are supposed to be. I mean, got 48 up there, the cool spot up there in Blairsville. Everybody else here generally in the 50s across the area. And we've already got a little stray shower, believe it or not, right up there. Just coming out of Rabun County right there, a little few showers already. So we're going to see a few scattered showers today. It almost feels like you think it's a summertime day, late afternoon scattered showers and thunderstorms that'll linger into the evening. That's what we're going to be looking at for today, which is really weird. Now, we do have some fog across the southeast, Alabama, South Georgia. There's some spotty fog across our area as well, but really nothing to be too concerned here for the moment. The main radar, at least up from our vantage point from Peachtree City, is clear. You can still see that little bit of that shower right up here. Look at that, right up here. Let's switch over to the Greenville radar here. You can see it a little bit better, but there's that little shower there. It's just popped up here in the last hour or so. You can see it just kind of moved to Rabun County, kind of moving up toward Fork Mountain. So we got a little shower that's already popped up here this morning, and we'll probably get some more of those a little bit later this afternoon as well. So keep that umbrella handy here just to be on the safe side. Then for tomorrow, we got to talk about the severe weather risk, okay? Now, this is where it's currently set up to kind of move into across the area here. So, again, we're in that green. So what that green means is we're in a marginal, so isolated. Now, there is a possibility that you see the level 2 back here to our west, that this could get upgraded to a yellow. Maybe. It's very low. I don't think it's that high, but it is a potential there as this boundary comes in. This boundary will be weakening a bit as it comes into our area, and we're definitely unseasonably warm. So, but right now, marginal. So what that means for us is some strong gusty winds over 55 miles per hour, some lightning, some small hail, some brief heavy rains, nothing widespread. If it does happen, it'll be isolated, okay? So this is our initial, we'll call it our spring teaser here for the upcoming season. All right, now let's go ahead and get into our model data here. We'll go and get into the NAM model here. Let's take a look at that. And so we kind of go through this as we're looking pretty decent here for today. Again, some scattered showers and thunderstorms for today cannot be ruled out. Then here comes the main system coming in here as we go for tonight. Now, if this thing was coming in during the day, I would probably be more concerned about maybe a little more widespread. But it's coming in at night, which means we're missing that prime heating days time. So this will come in overnight and then kind of sink out to the south there throughout the down Sunday. So that is our window right through there. In fact, let's go ahead and switch over to the high resolution model data here. We'll take a look at that, and we're going to switch this over to the 6C. So I'm going to switch this over to the reflectivity mode here. And this is kind of like a sampler radar, okay? So kind of give an idea of what that looks like. All right, so let me back this up here again, and we're going to go to the 6C run, which is a longer run, by the way, just so you know. So this, again, looking at what the radar may look like here for today. So not really showing a whole lot of activity here on the high resolution here for today, but we're going to have the scattered storms around, all right? So what I'm watching is to see what does this line look like. So here's that line. Again, coming in Saturday evening. So you see the storms coming on into Georgia, and they do look like they're weakening a bit. See how it kind of moves in there? It's definitely heavier back to the west. That's why the yellow's over that way, but it doesn't look all that impressive as it moves across North Georgia. So that line looks like it's going to weaken as it moves on in. So again, timing is everything, especially this time of year when you need the thunderstorms to have some instability, which is basically heat. So it's missing that ingredient a little bit. All right, but we'll watch it. We'll see if it changes anything. as we go in for tomorrow. Now, rainfall amounts, I think we're going to get some localized, especially the northwestern zones, 1 inch plus the potential here. The rain chance is going to continue not only for the weekend, but also into next week. So we're really going to fight back those drought conditions. And it's going to be unseasonably warm. Look at this. This is this afternoon on the high resolution. Kicking up temperatures around 80, like over toward Canton and over to Gainesville. In Atlanta, Commerce 82, 77 in Blairsville. Everybody here quite warm here for this afternoon. And then going in for tomorrow morning, it's going to be a balmy start. I mean, right here generally in the 50s to around 60, very similar to what we had this morning. And then as we go into your afternoon highs on your Saturday, once again, a lot of 80s in here, 79, 76, 80, 81, 80. So again, very warm. Here's our front back here, at least our initial front. This one's going to come in and die, so it's really not going to do much here as far as changing our temperatures all that much. All right, so here's our jet stream. Let's watch this. We're going to watch this initial system kind of move on through, and it's kind of moving here to the north. So there's our cutoff low. These things are tricky, I can tell you that. We're watching this thing kind of eject out. It's going to weaken as it comes on out. So it's going to get picked up here probably by Tuesday. So you see it kind of moving out there. So this is going to track basically over us, or pretty close to it, just to our south, as we go into Thursday. So here it goes, kind of moves on through there, just kind of see how it's falling apart as it's coming on through. So the severe risk that looked a little more promising yesterday or the day prior does not look as promising now. Okay, it's clearly not. So I would say if we get any kind of thunderstorms on Thursday, it'll be similar to what we're seeing right now, maybe a marginal risk for severe weather right now. Okay, so it's backed off on that. And then we got the dip of the jet stream here. Here comes that dip. And there's going to be a huge ridge that's going to build out here out in the west. I mean, a real significant pattern change. Look at that. I mean, just a huge high pressure ridge. So northwesterly flow kind of kicking in here across the country. And you see this big ridge, and then the cold air once over the Great Lakes, northeast. That tells me the cold air is going to be coming probably from the northeast if this holds true going out to the 21st. So we got some colder temperatures. I think we're going to get more seasonal to colder temperatures coming in later into the month, all right? So as we take a look at the 500 millibar height anomaly map, this kind of helps us track where the highs and low pressures are. The blues and greens are obviously where we're looking at our storm. So here's our cutoff feature down here in the southwest. Watch what happens to this thing. It kicks on out. It just falls apart. Look at that thing. It just falls apart. So it rolls across Texas and rolls across the south. So again, not a big deal there as that moves on out. And then we're going to get this huge, look at this thing. Wow. I mean, just a big giant high going to set up out here in the west. So this is going to bring in the colder air here across the eastern third as we head toward the 17th. So that's still tracking, although it doesn't look quite as cold as it did yesterday. So, but there is several opportunities. There's one shot. There's another shot coming in behind that one into the northeast. That looks very similar to what we saw all winter long, to be honest with you. So big ridge out here in the west, colder here in the eastern third of the United States. All right, so let's look at our forecast here. So we're going to take you through going through beyond the 84 hours we just looked at. And again, we're looking at scatter storms on Monday as well for next week. And then it looks like this is going to be a little bit different than what we were seeing before. So what we're seeing now is basically a low pressure system that's going to be tracking right along the Gulf Coast here. So we're not really looking at a strong front. It's a low. It's going to track down all across the south. And this will cool us off. It'll bring the temperatures back down, but it won't be overly cold like going into Friday. Like a few days back, looked like we were going to get really cold on Friday. It'll be more seasonable. So, back into the 40s, that kind of thing, and for lows. And then we'll see the next front come on in here. This one's still tracking on the 16th, 17th. Here's the freezing line coming back into North Georgia. So not as cold. Remember, yesterday was coming up further south. So not quite as cold, but still chilly. We'll still see some frost and some scattered freezes across North Georgia. And then it looks like that they've got another cold shot coming down here again across the northeast. So this means wedges, northeasterly winds blowing in here if this holds true. So the cold air is just off to our north and warmer air back off to the west. So it's a tricky forecast, to say the least, on this one. All right. Now, temperatures. Check this out. All right. Sunday, it's showing us we're seeing 80 on Saturday. Sunday may have a little more cloud cover and rain, so it's saying 60s and 70s. That's reasonable. I do have a little bit cooler there on Sunday, around 74. And then going into Monday next week, let's go check out Monday. Temperature recovering a bit back in the 70s here, and it gets even warmer on Wednesday. Check out Wednesday or Tuesday mid 70s. Here come the 80s again coming back at us here. Going into Wednesday, again back around 80, 81, 80, 80, like getting very warm out ahead of that next front coming on in. And then as we go into Thursday, here comes the front right there. Here comes the front. Again, not a very sharp one, but it'll cool us back down. So what our like you see, it's in the 40s up here across 50s up across northwest Georgia, 70s out of here. So the front's coming through on Thursday. So it'll be a little bit tricky as far as timing that out. So and then it sinks to the south, and then seeing 40s in here, and then it looks like we got a pretty good wedge here on going into Friday. See that? Pretty good wedge there on Friday going into next week. So that's our next 7 days as we look in here across our area. All right, so let's go take a look at the climate outlook here the next 2 weeks here. Again, looking at above normal temperatures here. This one, again, going from the 11th to the 15th, but look what happens on the 8th to the 14th. Ooh, look at that. Back to where we're supposed to be. All right, a little cooler up to the north. All right, so that's that pattern change. Warmer out in the west, cooler in the east. And we're looking at active weather here as far as precipitation from the 11th to the 15th. But once that northwest flow gets established once again, it dries back out. So we got a couple of let's say next 10 days, some decent days and some rain. I mean, we got rain chances just about every day going into next week. So that's still in the cards there. So again, not looking too bad. The weekend is not a complete washout, but you're going to have to dodge some rains, folks. It's going to be around, looks like Saturday, later in the afternoon. We got late day stuff today. Sunday's probably your higher rain chance there. So again, not a washout weekend, but you do have to plan for some rain and thunderstorms. So again, the severe risk for tomorrow is marginal. It is low. It is level 1. So don't let it disrupt your plans. Say, oh, we got all the big severe weather event. No, it's not that. Okay, just some scattered storms. You might see a isolated one that's a little more robust than others. So like we had, last week we had that one lone storm that dumped all the hail, something like that. Although that was kind of weird. But anyway, so just watch out for that. And then right now, the next one does not look as bad as it did a couple days ago as far as the severe weather threat there on Thursday. But it will knock our temperatures back down to seasonal levels. So enjoy the next 5-6 days with this warm weather, because it will back off, and I think we see a more traditional March type weather for the second half of the month. That's how it's tracking for right now. Again, appreciate you guys checking us out here on the channel. If you are not a subscriber on Facebook, please consider it. I'd be honored and privileged to be one of your weather sources. Kind of consider me. If you become a subscriber, I'm your personal weatherman. So as the channel grows, I can give specific attention to the subscribers because they can reach me easier, whereas I can't answer everybody's questions on on a lot of posts because it's just so busy out there. And over on YouTube as well. YouTube, we try to get that up to about 10,000. Probably won't get there until we get a severe weather event or something to do some live coverage to get that number going. But the goal right now is to get to 100,000 and 10,000 on those two entities, so I can take my stats and go into a big business and say, hey, I want you to become my exclusive sponsor so I can go out and buy my capital equipment and move this thing to the next level, okay? Anyway, that's the plan. All right, you guys take it easy, be good, stay safe. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you back in the air on Monday. You guys take it easy. Bye-bye.